SSL Overview. Now that we have covered the different ways on how to protect your website and your customers' information, it's the perfect time to discuss the best decision you'll make for your site. What is that, you might ask? It's the transition from an HTTP to HTTPS. At this point, you might be wondering what I meant about transition from HTTP to HTTPS. What's the difference? What's this all about? You might be asking these questions. Why do I need to move from HTTP to HTTPS? My website's working perfectly fine. Why should I worry about it? Will there be an additional cost associated with this HTTPS thing? Hold your horses. No need to worry or no need to stress yourself too much about the transition from HTTP to HTTPS. We know that it may sound too technical for now. Do not fret. We'll talk about this as we proceed with the chapter. What is the transition from HTTP to HTTPS? We know that this may sound too technical. Well, it is a technical jargon, but don't worry, we'll explain this concept the easiest way possible. The migration from HTTP to HTTPS simply means you're adding a layer of security to your website, thus the letter S at the end of HTTP. It means that when a user accesses your site and shares information to your website, the information that's being sent will be encrypted or secured by specific codes that no one else would know. It simply makes the exchanges of information secured and not susceptible to any cyber attacks. What types of information are protected? When you're running an online business or doing transactions online, you usually ask for personal information from your customers. These types of data could range from name, location, email address, payment details, and card numbers. The idea of keeping these kinds of information protected is by adding a layer of security where these data are encrypted. What should you do to make your website run through a secured site? For you to add this additional security layer, your website should use a standard security protocol called an SSL. The use of the SSL technology makes the communication between your site and the internet server secured. Before we talk about what an SSL is, let us first understand what it's not. An SSL is not an antivirus. Many people think that an SSL is an antivirus that protects your website from any malicious cyber attacks. Remember that this is an added layer of security that's used to protect the information stored and being shared on the World Wide Web. An SSL will not have an impact on your website format. Another misconception about using SSL is that it will change your website's format or overall look. When you transition from HTTP to HTTPS, it will not impact the current look of your site. The only change that will happen is that your website is more secured. An SSL will not slow down your website. Using SSL will not have an impact on how fast your website or web pages load. Now that we have a glimpse on the myths about SSL, it's now the perfect time to talk about what an SSL is and how it positively impacts your site.